Hi everyone, my name is Tessie, and this is my journey in refurbishing my old wooden rocking chair. Before we dive in, here's a quick look at the materials I used. I used a plastic drop cloth to catch any messes just in case, brushes and sponges to apply the stripper and stain. Then we have some contour pads to help get those corners and odd ends. We have a scraper and some stain and poly that came together. And then here I have some stripper that I didn't end up using, some wool pads to help put in the stain in the wood, and of course some cleaning supplies. I did also have some odorless mineral spirits just in case the chair was pretty dirty, but we didn't end up using that either. And then some sandpaper for the sander that we eventually used. Here's a before of the chair. I bought it off of Facebook Market for $20, which is a good price for a beginner chair. The chair was a bit dirty, so before I started, I wanted to make sure I got it cleaned up. Although I had bought the stripper, I made the ultimate decision not to use it and just to try sanding first to see what I could get off. Sanding was not an easy task, so I enlisted some help. During this point, we were using a flat sander and we weren't able to get some of the edges in the chair, so we did stop for the night. And here's our progress after night 1 of sanding. For day 2 of sanding, I decided to use an orbital sander that I borrowed, and I was able to reach some of those grooves that the other sander wasn't able to reach. For a project like this, I definitely would recommend finding the orbital sander, as it was something that made the difference. However, when using the sander, you should be careful as you could damage the furniture like I did here. And I got some more help because this was a tedious task. At one point, it was getting pretty dark and I didn't want to be too loud for the neighbors, so I had to call it quits and end my day of sanding. Now here's where the fun begins. When applying the stain, I wanted to make sure I stayed in the same direction as the wood, and that I also applied an even layer of stain and make sure it didn't puddle up and drip off. When I was applying the stain, I did ultimately come to the conclusion that I should have used the stripper to help me get into those corners that the sander wouldn't have been able to get into. So if I could go back and do that a little bit differently, I think I would have gone and done that. It is also worth mentioning that the stain is pretty messy, but can be removed off of skin with some soap and water. And this was a little bit of a process, and unfortunately, because of some areas that I didn't get to sand, I did go over them with stain, but they were not even and they didn't hold the stain as well and did cause some puddling. Then I used the steel wool to really scrub in the stain to make sure that it got in the wood and that it didn't just sit on the outside of it. And here's what it looks like right after applying the stain. You can already see some of the areas looking like it's puddling up, but it did take a while for the stain to actually dry, and it did keep that glossy look because it had the poly in it as well. I let the chair sit outside for about 12 hours, and at this point it was dry to the touch. Nothing about the chair was wet. I did miss a couple spots, and of course you could see some of the areas where the stain didn't hold on to it very well, but for the most part it looked okay. Very uneven, but happy with the ending.